All right, happy Friday, guys. So today's May 1st, and we only have 2 or 3 weeks left of school, so almost there. So today's homework is just going to be going over or today's video, I guess, is going to be going over the homework from yesterday. As before, with these assignments, you're going to watch this video, check the homework that you were supposed to do yesterday, and your assignment is going to be to go on Edsby and submit any questions you have. If you got all the questions right, then just write that. Just write, Mr. Yu, I got all the questions right. Or if you got questions wrong but you understood your mistake, then you can just write, I understood, or whatever. All right. So cosine of negative 45 degrees. Step one is to graph it. And I've already prepared the graphs. That way it doesn't take as much time. So 45 degrees would be right there between 0 and negative 90. Then you draw a line going to the x-axis. Remember, it's always up or down to get to the x-axis. You should never go to the left or right because that would be the y-axis. Then you'll draw a right angle there. All right, and then label the sides. So, well, first we got to figure out the reference angle. So here was 0, and we drew a negative 45 degree angle. So then how big is this reference angle from here to here? Well, that's going to be 45 degrees, right? And reference angle, remember, should always be positive and should always be less than 90. Okay, so 45 degrees is the reference angle. Then I'm going to label hypotenuse across from the 90. Across from the reference angle is opposite, and next to is adjacent. Then I will label the side lengths. So because the reference angle is 45 degrees, that tells you which out of the two triangles you're supposed to use, the ones that I told you to memorize. So 45 degree angle tells you that you're doing a 45, 45, 90. So you should be remembering that the lengths for that triangle. So on that triangle, the hypotenuse is square root of 2 and both legs are 1. All right, so now I just need to set up my fraction. Well, I'm doing cosine of negative 45 degrees. So cosine should be adjacent over hypotenuse. So then let me set up my fraction. Adjacent over hypotenuse is going to be 1 over the square root of 2. Now, these types of problems, whenever you have a square root on the bottom, remember you have to simplify them. It sucks because it's a little time consuming, but has to be done. So square root on the bottom, to get rid of it, multiply by that same square root, and do the same on the top. So let's see, you'll get 1 times the square root of 2 is square root of 2. Technically you can write the 1 there, but you don't really need it. On the bottom you're going to have square root of 4 when you multiply those together. And then we will simplify that because you can take the square root of 4. That gives you just regular 2. Now we just need to figure out whether this is going to be positive or negative. So that's where that acronym that I gave you, or that phrase, all students take classes, comes in, because that tells you which ones are positive in each quadrant. So in quadrant 1, all are positive. In quadrant 2, sine is positive. Quadrant 3, tangent's positive. And in quadrant 4, cosine is positive. So we don't really need the other 3 because our graph was not in that quadrant. It was in quadrant 4, so we just need to know about that one. So in that one, cosine is positive. We are doing cosine, so that means that the answer should be positive. So there you go. Done. Okay. The next one, I see 2 pi over 3. I can't do the problem because I don't know what that graph looks like, so I need to convert it to degrees. Now, you're supposed to memorize what the conversion is. What are you supposed to multiply to convert from radians to degrees? Supposed to multiply by 180 over pi. So then I'll do that. So multiply left to right, so that would give you 2 times 180 is 360. Pi on the top, on the bottom 3 pi. What's going to happen is the pi will cancel out since you have 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom, and then you will get when you divide, you get 120. 360 divided by 3 is 120. So that means then that I can really rewrite this problem to be sine of 120 degrees. That means the same thing as sine of 2 pi over 3. All right, so now I can graph that because I know what 120 degrees looks like. Okay, so 120 degrees is going to be between 90 and 180, but it should be closer to the 90. So make sure that when you draw it, it's closer to the 90. Draw the line back to the x-axis. That creates a right angle over here. And then how big is the reference angle? Well, this was 120 degrees, and the reference angle was from here to the x-axis, which is 180. So 120 to 180 is 60. And then, so now I just need to label the sides. So across from the 90 is hypotenuse, and across from the reference angle is opposite, and next to is adjacent. Now this is a 60 degree reference angle, so that means you're using the 30, 60, 90 instead of the 45, 45, 90. So what should be the hypotenuse on a 30, 60, 90? You're supposed to memorize that the hypotenuse is 2. What goes across from the 60 on the triangle? Well, across from the 60 is the square root of 3. And then what should be across from the 30 degree angle, which in this case the 30 is up here, even though I didn't write it. Across from the 30 should be a 1. Now I just need to write in, we're doing a sine, so sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse is going to be square root of 3 over 2, which is good. Square root on the top. Easy problem, don't need to simplify that because it's already simplified. We just need to make sure whether it's positive or negative. So remember, all students take classes. We don't really care about the other quadrants. In this case, we don't need quadrant 1, 3, or 4 because our graph was in quadrant 2. Remember, in quadrant 2, sine is positive, the other two are negative. We are actually doing sine, so our answer should be positive. So there you go. Don't need to change it. Square root of 3 over 2, which is positive. All right, next one, 5 pi over 4. Again, it's in radians. Convert to degrees. So multiply by 180 over pi. So then I believe that's 900 degrees when you multiply 5 times 180. And then 4 times pi on the bottom. Cancel out the pi, so cancel. And 900 divided by 4, I believe, is 225. So then I can rewrite the problem to be tangent of 225 degrees, because I don't know what radians look like, but I do know what degrees look like. So 225, I'm going to draw that. So 225 is going to be right there in the middle between 180 and 270. Draw the line going to the x-axis. Then there's a right angle. How big is the reference angle? Well, this was 225. So how many degrees was it from 180 to 225? That's going to be 45 degrees. So 45 degree reference angle. Hypotenuse across from 90, opposite is across from the reference angle, and adjacent is next to. Then for the 45, 45, 90, you're supposed to memorize hypotenuse is square root of 2, adjacent is 1, and opposite is 1. Well, not necessarily, but the two legs of the triangle are both 1. All right, so now we just need to set up our fraction. So tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent. So then opposite over adjacent would be 1 over 1. And let's just figure out whether it's positive or negative. So all students take classes. Don't care about the other quadrants because our angle or triangle is not there. So looks like we are in quadrant 3 and tangent should be positive. sine and cosine should be negative, but we're doing tangent, so our answer will be positive. So I will just simplify this. So 1 over 1 is just 1, and it should be positive, like I just said. So there you go. These are the answers to the homework. So keep in mind that your assignment for today is going to be to watch this video and go on Edsby, click on Take Test, even though it's not a test. Click on Take Test, submit any questions. If you got them all right, just type something. Just say that you got them all right, or if you got some wrong but you figured out what you did wrong, then just type I understood or something like that. Anything just so that I can put a grade. Keep in mind that the beginning of next week, on Monday, I'm going to be posting a review video, and then on Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be the test. So make sure to set aside time at the beginning of next week to take that test, because once that test closes, it's closed. All right.